somebody's here.
It's my after-school program leaving.
Oh, okay.
Bye, or actually, that's a teacher leaving. She's always here.
Okay, so hello everybody, and on our Thursday before Thanksgiving, and let's get this meeting started. And I'm going to do a quick roll call. We have Veronica Sanders, as far as our board. Can you say present?
Here, present.
Chris Kenworthy.
Present.
Myself, Mike Mizajewski, and we have in attendance Jackie Bogue, the head administrator here, and then on virtually we have Jessica Williams, Justin Bayardo, Josh Padilla, Lisa Hughes, and Samantha Matwood. So, hello everybody, and I believe with the three of us in present, we have a quorum. Is that correct, Veronica?
I believe that is correct.
Yes,
That
I
is
believe
correct.
it's, sorry.
And so moving on to the approval of the, actually, do we have anybody in public comment?
I think Karen usually asks us if anybody has any public comment to raise their hand.
So
Yes.
chat is open and I have not had anyone let us know that they are here for public comment.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to the approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? And any changes need to be made, or do we have an approval?
I'm just glancing at this
Yep.
last second version here. Closed session. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And the same for the minutes from from our October 24th meeting. Do we have an approval on those, and or any changes that need to be made?
Yeah, it looks like everything got filled in since last time I looked at it.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and so then I guess we can move Josh to his presentation for our Finance Committee report. I'm going to close the lights so it's easier to see.
And then she just needs to, there it goes.
Hello.
Hi, Josh.
Hey,
Hi,
Josh.
Hi. All right, let's get to it. Everyone can see the check register for October. The amount of transactions weren't as much as typical months. A lot of the transactions previously had to do with the items bought for the building and projects. So this month was really about necessities and operationally what keeps the school going. Some of the bigger ticket items are retirement health, UMB Bank, the rent, Genuine Foods, the foods that are provided to the students, business back office management and Axiom Analytics, NIPSIA, the insurance for staff, Explore Learning Systems, and see Keenan Jackson, which is a social worker for the school. Let's see ACH retirement for the staff, retirement benefits for the staff, and then of course payroll for the month. We have some smaller transactions that occurred but nothing of large substance. But I can answer any questions if you have any regarding any smaller purchases.
Check number 104 or 1004, that's actually, that was the fire extinguishers, not PTO. I sent that over to Laura. She was asking about it yesterday. Brittany Lovato sent over the receipt. I sent over the check. We had to pay for the fire extinguisher with a check. They didn't want a PO this time.
Okay, I'll change that in our book then.
Laura Green should also have that. We sent it to her yesterday.
Okay. She closed this the day before and must have been confused, so I'll change that on our end, our object code. It's just an object code change.
After our audit, I want to make sure everything is right.
Right, exactly. No, good catch. Thank you for catching that. That's what this is about. The backup documentation is going to show that it wasn't a check for PTO.
Okay.
Anything else that you see out of the ordinary, Jackie, or anyone that
No, that was
have
just.
any questions about anything else?
None heard.
No? Okay. Bank reconciliation for October. The school started with a roughly $68,000 balance, and with receipts of $587,000 roughly, and disbursements of $528,000. Ending balance for the month is $127,389.80. So we're in the green, roughly $58,545.73. The back payments from FY 24 have ceased. So we're going to see most months are going to probably look a little bit like this now that we're not paying as much from the previous fiscal year, not any going forward, unless, invoices come out of the woodwork, but none that we know of thus far. So we won't see any overdraft fees or anything like that. And especially since we're monitoring the accounts to make sure that there's enough money before we initiate any expenses for the school. The expected general ledger and the general ledger are a bit different. We had to initiate some JEs to move some money out of operating to grants to process RFRs.
Okay.
Was that
And
JE
yes, sir.
done, was that JE done in a timely manner?
Yes, it
Okay.
was. I'm glad you asked that. At the end of the month, we are going to be processing JEs month to month. The auditors kind of changed their opinion on some things where we can't exactly perform cleanup at the end of the year. We have to do it month to month. So we'll be seeing JEs more commonly going forward. And that's why the expected general ledger and general ledgers will be off occasionally. These are the JEs that were performed this past month, and it was just moving salaries out of operating to IDEA and Title I to process RFRs.
They're special ed.
Salary expenses. So the Robert Lloyd was moved out of operational fund and it was moved to what?
Yes. Moved to IDEA. I'm sorry, to Title I.
To Title I, got it, okay.
Yeah, and Julia was moved to IDEA.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Okay. That's it. I believe we need a motion if no one has any questions.
No further questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the financials as submitted.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We have bars to approve?
Yes. Okay, first bar is Title I increase of $977. So our initial budget was 20,000. We received an increase of $977, and that'll go towards salary expenses to offset salary expenses of the operating account.
Nice. 900.
Was the total Title I 20,977 for the year?
For the year thus far, yes, that's correct.
And have we received that? If there's a bar, does that mean it's been received or?
No, if it's a bar, it means we received an award letter stating that there was an increase in Title I. We process reimbursements, which we call RFRs, to receive the money. So we had to spend the money, and then we'll receive a reimbursement back from the state.
But this is different than last year where we didn't receive any of it?
Right, right, exactly. So this a lot of the um the big grants have a lot to do with last year's enrollments. Like you'll see later on the Title II application that's due. Those that funding is based off of last year's enrollment. Since the school didn't have enrollment the year before, they didn't receive that funding.
Okay. Can we approve all three at once?
You can as a batch, yes. Okay, I'll move on to the second bar. So this is a state increase of our universal free lunch fund. The initial budget was $69,227.23. The state award increase of $6,681.77. And so the new budget is $75,909, and this will go towards food services and food.
Okay.
And lastly, our lease assistance grant, we were awarded $220,212 flat. This is also based off of last year's enrollment. So next year with the bump in enrollment, we'll get some increase in funding here for lease assistance. And this will all go towards rent for the building.
Okay.
Okay.
Questions?
That's it,
Any other
as
questions?
far as bars are concerned.
Make a motion?
That was the
Veronica?
Sorry, I'll make a motion to accept all three bars as is.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
One
Okay.
second while I move Lisa to a panelist.
Does Josh still need to do the
Budget.
financial presentation?
I certainly can. It is after the agenda, but I can jump to it if you all want.
We're not
was-
able to, being that you guys already made a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Okay.
Are we, the next is the budget approval for the
Uh,
Title
for-
II
yeah.
application. So
Lisa.
that's Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lisa, do you want me to share that, or do you have control to share that?
I've got it. Hold on, give me just a minute. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. So we're here to talk about the Title I application that for Explore Academy Rio Rancho will be due on 12/1. The reason why, again, as Josh mentioned, that some of these are coming later is we didn't have the enrollment last year and we didn't have the census data that we needed to get our allocation. So the purpose of Title II is really teacher principal training and recruiting and support for teachers in the Explore model. So which for Explore Academy Rio will be used for the partial teacher salary for instructional coach. So this money that when we get the allocation, it will be allotted to salaries. Since Explore Rio Rancho was a new school last year, the Title I department, who works with Title II, was waiting on our census data to determine our allocation. There was another school in the state that had the same thing, that they were waiting for the allocation of that census data. So from the PED, the background information is that these allocations depend on the census data from Title I, with 20% weighted by population and 80% weighted by that poverty level. Each LEA will have 27 months to use the Title II-A funds under this amendment, which allows for flexibility in planning. Although with us using it as salary, we won't use the 27 months to spend it. And we don't have the amount as of yet. They're still working on that. So the allocation estimation for Explore Academy is going to be this LEA total around $13,000. And so we needed to present it to you all first before we submit the application for your approval for us to submit the application to get those Title II funds. And then this is just justification for the Title II partial funding of an instructional coach salary. They can really be mentor teachers and support the staff, new to career teachers, but also new to Explore teachers. And so they drive mentorship activities, supporting the mission and the vision of Explore Academy. We have a robust mentor-mentee program that will be supported by the instructional coach. Again, mentors are also going to work with that instructional coach. So just building capacity for our schools to support student achievement outcomes. And with the application of Title II funds, we'll be able to partially fund that instructional coach salary. The application for us is due by 12/1/2024. So in connection with Josh from Axiom, we will make sure, if you guys approve us applying for this, we will make sure to get the application submitted to PED by that 12/1 deadline. Any questions?
Is this tied to the number of responses received or the number of applications received for like the food assistance or I forget what it's called. I know as a parent every year I was asked to fill out,
The free and reduced meal application?
That's the one, thank you.
Yes, so this one is based off of our enrollment last year and true census data. So they pull a lot of data from the census. And so it's pulled also from that data. So I'm not sure if they actually pull the free and reduced lunch, but it's census data. And that's what they were waiting for our population.
Okay, got it. So even if the majority of the school population doesn't respond to that application, which I guess that's good, right? Because how many do now that everybody gets free lunch? So what's the point in filling out the form?
We still get some assistance and things like that once the form is filled out, but this one truly is based on census data.
Good. And then Jackie, are you aligned with how the dollars are going to be spent?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh.
Can I make
So
a
if there's no
motion?
other questions, I think we need that motion, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the Title II application as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lisa.
You're welcome. Josh and I will work and make sure that the application is submitted by that deadline.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Lisa.
Okay, so then moving on back to Josh for the financial forecast presentation.
Okay, so here's November's financial forecast, how we believe that the school will end at this point in time. We added the new Title II funds to this as revenue, decreased revenue from the loan equipment lease, if you will, as well as decrease the expenses attached to the equipment lease. So the school will only be receiving a reimbursement of the funds that it used out of operating for the projects that were approved that are attached to the equipment lease / loan. So the school's expected to receive at this point $52,177 of that money. It has already received $37,710 thus far. So waiting for the other $14,000 to be transferred back to the school. We did have a raise in professional services due to the diagnostician, social worker.
Josh, Chris had a question.
Yep. What was that?
Yeah, I had a question on the lease. So previously, the forecast was for 264,907 on the other items line item.
Hmm.
And I don't remember what we approved for that lease assistance amount. What was the
It
potential?
was the full amount of 264,907.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning that we only spent the 52 out of the 264?
Some projects were in the works and not been completed yet, such as the turf, some other items that the school had not paid for initially. So the remaining projects that will be paid from the $264,907 will be paid up from the foundation instead of the school.
What? I'm confused.
So with the revenue decreasing, as did the expenses decreasing out of the school's budget. The remainder of the projects will be paid from the foundation.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Uh, So how does that affect what we pay monthly or whatever for the equipment lease?
To to pay the equipment lease back, the school still pays that monthly fee of the schedule, but the foundation will pay the remainder of the projects and the equipment items that are part of what was agreed upon on that equipment lease. But yes, the school still pays the equipment lease
Is it,
monthly of what was agreed upon.
is it a one for one? There's like any extra fees or anything like
It's
that?
one for one, but if the project ends up coming in lower than what was anticipated, the school gets the remainder of the money back.
Okay. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah,
Kind of, sort of, maybe?
yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a little weird, and we were anticipating the school getting the full amount and then paying for those projects, but we are monitoring any and all invoices that have to do with the projects to make sure that the school um, gets the remainder of any funds regarding the lease equipment back to operational or back to any reimbursements that have to do with equipment or items for the school.
How long does the school have to spend that full amount?
The school has to, my understanding, it's for the year. So all these projects are supposed to be completed by the end of the year.
So then,
End of school year.
so theoretically, then we would get close to spending the full amount?
Yes, yes, that is the plan. Yep.
Very roundabout way what I was trying to figure out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The plan is just to completely spend the full amount, and it's based off of quotes of projects and equipment items that were done before the board signed on to agree with the lease equipment agreement.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Yep. And right now we have Dustin working on potentially exemption of property tax, which would save the school roughly around $50,000 to $60,000 this year. So there is some potential savings that we can have by the end of the year. But as far as we are looking right now with property taxes and the bond covenants, the school will have a balance of $14,000 roughly, including the bond covenant, yeah, including the bond covenant afterwards. This is what the cash flow will look like for the rest of the year, with again a double payment of staff coming in June. So that is our biggest year of expenses there.
Okay, one more question for you, Josh.
Yes.
Does did the forecast include the anticipated refinance reduction in interest, or that's?
No, sir. No, no. This is essentially what we anticipate that we're very certain that we're going to receive revenue and expense wise. So until until that refinance happens, it will not be in the forecast.
Okay.
Jackie, any
No.
questions, comments?
No, no questions.
This is what the cash flow will look like in graph form. Again, that big payment in June will drop in cash. Some accomplishments for this month. We maintained the budget thus far for 430 student enrollments. The audit is complete, it is done. As for the next 30 days, we still need to watch the budget and staffing closely. Some future items that we're going to be working on is potential refinance of the building and property tax exemption. Okay. Any questions?
Don't think. I don't think so. The only thing that I had jotted down to ask about, but I feel like you kind of addressed it. It sounds like there's no major concerns about any revenue sources at risk this year currently.
No, there's not any concerns about any revenue sources that exist. Last year, I know the calendar was a bit of an issue. PD worked that portion of the calendar out. Uh, that hasn't changed for the school. In fact, we're getting a little bit more funds than we anticipated when it comes to the federal funding, such as Title II and a bump of Title I. Those are not at stake. Those aren't going anywhere. They are not going to decrease at all because they're based off of last year's numbers.
I think the only thing we gotta watch is SB 9. They said it was probably gonna be released in early December. So hopefully we'll
Mhm.
get out that money as we're preparing for December and then the holiday, just to see what that looks like. I know that the actual amount, we have still no solid idea. I think
Right.
it was gonna be between 60 and 70, but again, nobody is actually 100% sure as to what that's gonna look like.
Exactly, right. We don't have a good idea of what that looks like until it comes in and we're awarded whatever we're awarded for that. And then obviously that'll be more revenue for the school, which is a positive.
And uh, Jackie, do you like have, I guess, projects or funds that have been allocated in the budget in mind that if for some reason we do come up short or something like that, that can be
Like a safety net?
like, I guess stuff that's like maybe like lower priority or
Yes.
not mission
Yes,
critical? that could be-
we've already removed some stuff from the potential with the lease purchase furniture or the thing.
Yeah,
So yeah, we've already removed some things just in case.
okay.
Yeah.
And then do you have, like, if for whatever reason, knock on wood,
Shortfall.
yeah, there's a shortfall or something like that, is there a couple things that have been identified as like not mission critical, could be deferred to next year?
Yes, yes. And then I'm also probably will be stopping any spending at the end of January for supplies, teacher supplies. And then it'll just be kind of school supplies, like
Okay.
paper towels, toilet papers, paper. But for the most part, have not done a lot of, each teacher has a budget, and I've been trying to keep a closer eye on making sure that they're not going over. And so I allocated it pretty small, and hopefully that will also help. And then we did do like a smaller school supply drive so that teachers weren't using operational dollars for, markers, crayons, things that parents normally typically buy.
Yep,
So I'm hoping that that also will save and just be a little bit more mindful. We did not do nearly as many technology computers, stuff like that.
okay.
So yeah, we've been much more mindful, just so that hopefully we can start building up a reserve. And so yeah, like teachers have asked for things, and I've said no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not asking to necessarily cut down, just in,
I've been very cautious. Yeah.
That's good. Have you seen a reduction from the power stuff that you guys did? Don't know yet?
Sometime, I mean, like, when we left, remember last time, the power, we
Yeah,
do
yeah,
have
we
them
talked about
completely
that,
turning
yeah.
off. So that has been helping, making sure that everything is off by 7.
Nice,
It has been helping, but I mean, there's still
sure.
ginormous bills, but not, I think we're in the, like, 6,000-7,000, not like the 10,000-12,000.
Okay, that's good.
So
All
that's good.
right.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the forecast? Okay, thank you very much, Josh.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna go put the light back on. Right.
Make it bright.
Okay, so moving on to the updates on the lease agreement, audit status, and bank signatories.
I'm done with my bank signatures.
I have to go still on that.
Okay.
I went on Monday.
Forgot.
I don't
Okay.
think we're allowed to, are we allowed to share the audit?
No, not
No, I
till
didn't think so.
February.
I didn't think so.
No,
But the
we
audit's
can't.
done. Got it's
Okay,
done.
audit's done, and as far as the lease agreement, Josh, obviously you alluded to the fact that that was all said and done, and obviously start flowing. So we're complete on that.
Does that extra money sit in the foundation because the school's not allowed to hold a loan or loan money or something? What's the reasoning behind that?
That's what the agreement had there. Yeah, I mean, that was just what was written in the agreement, that the foundation would hold on to the money until then. Again, the monitoring of the funds is going to have, like, it can be looked at with a fine tooth comb to make sure that the school is going to receive any and all that money that it signed up for. So working very closely with the foundation on that, and looking very closely at the invoices to make sure anything comes back to the school. But yeah, that was the reasoning. It was in the contract.
Okay. Thank you very much. And have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. You all too.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Josh.
Bye.
So moving on, Justin,
Promote him
ELS
up to
Executive Director
the
report.
panelist. It was just a second, oh, it
there it is.
already said, okay.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
I am doing well. How are you guys? I did want to touch on, I think, the question that was just asked about the foundation holding that extra money. Is that not officially part of my report, although I do have the foundation, that the sublease piece in the report, but that additional money, because it's an unsecured loan, there's no collateral against anything. If anything happens to the school, that was one stipulation that the bondholders, because it is a retail bond deal, is that additional money that's paid to the foundation is held there to then, in the event that the school defaults on the loan, and if, obviously if it doesn't, then all that money goes back to the school. So that was the only basically security on the foundation side. It wasn't even the foundation's decision. That was a bondholder decision in terms of how that loan could fund in the end. So I just wanted to clarify that. So you guys, that's a good question to ask, but I want to make sure you had the answer.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. I had emailed this over to you guys. It is just can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right. So as you guys know, Explore Learning Systems is contracted on behalf of the board to kind of, provide support, obviously, on your behalf for Jackie and for Jackie's staff. That is the task of our team, is to ensure that, again, as much as we can take off of Jackie's plate, knowing that she is principal / superintendent / sometimes food service coordinator, as we've come to find, slash other things. Whatever we can do to help alleviate those additional administrative burdens. That's obviously it's our primary focus of our support role. So this report, in essence, kind of is broken into two different portions. One is a curricular instruction, looking at more of the model and the academic systems, and one is more on the operational side with the other non-curriculum things that we do, the tasks that we do perform for Jackie and for you guys as a board. In general, now there's a lot of data packed in here, so I'm going to kind of give kind of high-level overviews of things. We do have some little status indicators for each particular area. Just we do like to, I guess, provide a nice little status check or a wellness check over how the school is doing across all areas, both curriculum instruction and operational. So we're starting with the curriculum instruction area. And based on just instructional observations, classroom observations, this is Jackie's team and some members of our team who are in classrooms. Again, this is looking at just K-5. We find that, most teachers are scoring very, very well and aligned to the model very, very well. The observations we perform are not evaluative. They're basically just feedback, specifically pertaining to the Explore Academy model. Jackie's observations that she does are more evaluative and are more aligned with the Danielson framework and the New Mexico Canvas evaluation system. So ours, we do look for two separate types of things. And so what I'm describing here is really just how those, what we're seeing in terms of adherence to the model and the mission of the school. On a 1 to 4 scale with 3 being effective and 4 being highly effective, where teachers are scoring very, very well. On average, I think it obviously you see like a bit of a bell curve. And of course, some of these teachers are brand new to Jackie's staff and to the academic model in general. And so I feel like this data point shows well for how the K-5, at least the instructional side in that respect, is doing. I think to support that, looking at feedback from families, which is also covered a little bit further below in this report, but I wanted to paste it in here as well because I think it does align to what families are seeing, at least from our Q1 feedback that we asked, for feedback on a number of these areas. So for each of these metrics, families can opine whether they feel that area is an area of strength or an area that needs improvement. And you can see that aside from everything except for extracurriculars, and we'll go into that a little bit further below, and that's not uncommon to see. But there's strong positive feedback from parents of the K-5 students. Especially, I would point out, definitely look at the fact that flavor-based teaching has almost all strength and 0% respondents identify that as an area of improvement. So I think that's that plus if you go down, you look down further on the graph, qualified teaching staff. I think Jackie has been able to recruit very, very strong teachers. And thus obviously can roll out a very challenging academic model. I would want to also add to that some of the student achievement metrics. Students in K-5 take the iStation test 3 times a year. The beginning of year exam does show some dips. There's some summer learning loss that I think should be mentioned, especially for this BOY portion. But this data does show where students are kind of starting the year off. Looking at BOY middle of year and end of year data, looking at that trajectory, I think is more important than looking at a single data point. But I did want to at least drop in the data for both reading and math, just kind of show where the students, you can see the grade levels across the x-axis there, and then looking at the leveled score of 1 to 5 in terms of where students are hitting for the reading and for the math metrics for beginning of year data. Shifting to middle school, high school, a little bit different. Fewer teachers, obviously fewer students, and definitely a growing program. Obviously, just having 6th graders last year and now 6th and 7th grade. And of course, adding that new grade level, bringing in new, some 6th graders who were rising 6th graders from her 5th graders last year, plus some new students. It's always a bit of a melting pot as that many new students come in, and we'll talk about enrollment here a little bit down the road as well. But I for the most part, going back to observation scoring, teachers overall, I think, performing well in implementing the model. It is one area that I think, obviously, with time will grow. Because right now, you've got these 6th and 7th graders and middle school teachers, and they're not anchored to any greater secondary curriculum. And so right now, they're being kind of tied to the K-5. And so I think, obviously, as the schools plan to build out the secondary curriculum more, and as those grade levels are added, I think you'll begin to see a greater flourishing of that particular academic program. Right now, obviously 2 grade levels, with teachers teaching both 6th and 7th grade, and not having the diversification of staff who are teaching some middle school and some high school. That obviously will come in time, and it's just based on the fact that you only have 2 secondary grades at this time. But for the most part, just in terms of feedback from the observations that have been done and the scoring of those observations, again, this is feedback, not evaluative. I would say, teachers are doing very, very, very well at the secondary level, and are implementing the model with success. We'll get down to the achievement rate right here. Now, we've only had 1 quarter's worth of data, and so because we only have middle school, we don't have high school yet. High school classes run every month, and so take this for next year. Next year, you'll have not only Q1 through Q4 data, but by this time, you'll have term 1 and term 2 data, and actually term 3 data even by this point, because the high school classes run and cycle once every month. And so for right now, we just have 1 data point for where how students are doing basically on our core assessments. You can see that the mastery rate for everything but math are in like the 83 percentile or higher. Math's a little low, but that is also not uncommon. You're looking at middle school grade levels, 6th graders who, with various levels of stability in their foundations of math, 7th graders who are still building that foundation from 6th grade. And so math does take a bit of time to acclimate. And I think that one of the strengths of our model is that once that foundation is established, and you see this with math actually more than any other subject, because the foundation is so important, but once that foundation is established, you'll see students grow so much faster. And what I think, again, back to the strength of the model, what doesn't happen traditionally in a district program is that as students pass on, with a C or a D, then that foundation is not as strong as it should be. And so you see the same recurring problems continuing to perpetuate themselves from year to year. Whereas within this model, the foundation has to be strong for them to move on. And once it is, how quickly they're able to excel. And that's a strength I think you'll observe within the data as we present this over the remainder of this year, but also definitely going to next year as they get into algebra, which most of the 7th graders that Jackie has will be able to start algebra by next fall. Aligning this to standardized testing, the students took the IMASA test, beginning of year test in 3 areas: reading, language, and math. And again, looking at summer learning loss, beginning of year data. This is kind of your benchmark starting point data. But even with that, the amount of students that are on target or nearing the target is still a pretty significant percentage of the whole. And so obviously we're a growth-based model, and so this, I think, shows a good position for students to exhibit strong growth. So looking at just reading, the dip, if there is a dip, it would be here in language, with the number of students that need support being a little higher than in math a little bit even more. So almost divided into three different thirds of the subpopulations. And again, math is the characteristic historically area where students start slow and struggle at least initially. So before we go to operations, I want to pause there and see if you guys had any questions over anything thus far.
No, Jackie?
No, I mean, the IMASA data, the one thing we did do with Greg, he works for the state and he's great with cognitive testing, was trying to pull out a little, and like, I like the data, I like the pie chart, but pulling out a little bit more of the demographic data This year, we're sitting at about 12.5 to 15% of our middle school population with an IEP. And so just to show, because some of them actually are doing really, really well in their IMASA data, and some maybe do need more support, but we were trying to disaggregate the data a little bit deeper in October. So that would be the one cool thing as we continue on, is just to possibly start looking at that piece of it. Because like I said, some of our students with IEPs are actually doing very well compared to where they might have been last year in a neighborhood school. But also to show that, yes, language is something we have already identified. The population coming in with vocabulary is across the board a big concern. Yeah. But no questions, really.
This IMASA data, this is what feeds into Vistas, right?
Yes.
It does, yes. At the end of year data, the end of year test does, correct. Not the interim, the beginning of year and middle of year assessment does not, but the end of year test will, yes.
Got it.
Okay, no other questions?
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what Jackie said, that she has a data dashboard that we're developing for her that has a lot of the subgroup data in there. We didn't do IMASA yet for you, Jackie. We did it for the mastery, going back up to the seminar pass rates. You have that broken down by subgroup for sure, and you'll be able to see those trends over time. But yeah, we don't put all the data in this report. I think that would just be too extensive. But Jackie has, I think, at her disposal a lot more data to be able to analyze and devise interventions, set goals, etc. So yes, for sure. I mean, we hope to, I think, as the next quarter comes and goes, or this current quarter, I should say, ends, tracking to see, are the same students struggling? That's what you're going to look at. If a student is growing, I mean, that's what we want in our model. But if a student is continuing to stay stagnant and not exhibit that growth, that's where we want to identify where we can work, obviously, in addressing that particular those focus subgroups.
Okay.
All right, looking a little more at operations. I threw in here the sublease stuff. I know you guys just discussed that with Josh in the budget report. I did want to provide kind of just to refresh you guys, the 5 areas the sublease has funded, obviously, and breaking down that sublease into the 5 areas that Jackie identified as where that money is to be spent. And I think Josh mentioned some of this: the outdoor improvements, the artificial turf, the fencing. We did network infrastructure, which included some low voltage, some wireless access points, security cameras, student teacher furniture to accommodate the expansion of staff and the expansion of the growth of the number of students you guys have, staff devices for teachers, and then some interior construction, which is mainly some of the cabinetry that's going to be going in. Jackie, I think they said Monday of next week, right? They're going to start putting the casework in for those rooms that don't have the countertops and the cabinets.
Correct.
So those are the 5 things that are that were allotted within that sublease. And so the 3 that are I said the 3 middle items, the network infrastructure, the furniture, and the technology, are all, I would say, complete. All the invoices have either been paid out to the vendor, and then now the foundation is paying the school back for that, or the foundation is paying, as other invoices come in, just paying those invoices directly. But Josh and I are tracking. We have a spreadsheet that we're tracking everything to make sure it all adds up to the amount that was subleased, I should say, to ensure that, as he said, any additional money can come back to the school or be used for another project that somewhat falls within these categories. And so, we want to make sure, obviously, you guys, whatever you lease, the sublease encapsulated, that you're getting utilization of all those funds. And so I would say between now and the next meeting, when we come back and discuss this next quarter, the interior construction will be done. I would actually hope the outdoor space stuff will all be done by then. I think the turf, and Jackie, you might have a better timeline on the turf installation. I know, Ralph, in Yellowstone, it's been a bit of a communication back and forth triangle here, but I would imagine within the next 4 weeks that the turf and the remainder of the outdoor space improvements should also be complete. So hopefully going into the new year, all 5 project areas are all fully funded and it's all been paid for, and you guys are benefiting from the funds that obviously have been borrowed. So
Okay.
in terms of budget, I did want to just provide this. I know Josh provided you this budget. Just from our standpoint, Josh sends over forecasts. I kind of look at the forecast. Jackie obviously has a very critical eye on budget. She's a budget hawk. But I feel like the school is in a very strong position. SB9, as Jackie already mentioned, is one thing that we have yet to kind of see how that's going to be funded. That'll be to the school's benefit, and that can be used to apparently even offset some of the improvements on the outdoor space, potentially allowing for some reallocation of some of the funds to other projects, or to add additional things to the outdoor space for students. I would say, obviously, we've talked about those unique issues that the school experienced last year. Lease assistance funding application, we consolidated that paper for the PSFA for their lease assistance funding approval. The calendar revisions, which I think were the bane of Jackie's existence, are largely, I think, in the past. I don't see those issues as recurring. Obviously, looking to end the year with a strong positive fund balance. Some of that is obviously going to be held in reserve for bond covenants, but ending the year with a positive fund balance is, shows that you guys are operating a strong budget and a tight ship. I would also say classes staying small, as that is a big part of budget, big part of the academic model. One thing that I think I would say traditional districts and community members don't always understand how much money it takes to keep classes small, and how much funding is allocated to maintaining this seminar style of learning that is inherent with the Explore Academy model. It's a lot. I mean, it's easy to bump class sizes up and to make classes 25, 28, 30, and then have money for other pet projects and for other operational tasks. But class sizes are staying small, and keeping that seminar aspect of the model is so critical, and yet it's still something that obviously we're holding to. So I do want to report that that's obviously critical, and it's a part of the mission and vision of the school that's being upheld. So I did want to talk about enrollment a little bit, just kind of where everything landed. It's there's not an enrollment issue. We feel the school was fully enrolled, met its target enrollment with a considerable wait list opening this fall of 24. Just as a general update, you guys, fall of 25 is already going to open up in December 1st. So that application will again begin the cycle all over again. And now we're back into the throes of enrollment season again. Not dramatically yet, but as we cross into 2025, it will ramp up. In terms of recruitment, I wanted to just give a kind of a nice overview of where the school ended in terms of how many applications it received. And totaling over 700 applications for 8 grade levels is pretty amazing. In the end, Jackie only had 194 enrollment slots based on returning students and new students, and so 705 applicants for 194 spots does allow for a nice safety net and a waiting list for. Of course, in a perfect world, I'm always heartbroken when we can't take all the families that want to enroll at Explore Academy. It's something that if they are attracted to our model and feel like that's a good fit for their student, it would be great to be able to pull every student in. But obviously, we're limited by funds and by space, et cetera. But and out of those 184 spots, 56 of them were for kindergarten alone. So over 25% were just for grade K. Given that there are no rising pre-K students into the kinder grade level. So, and then the graph obviously shows where that breakdown was across grade levels. You have the benefit of having these rising cohorts of students that will always populate that next grade up. Jackie's retained a considerable portion of her students from grade levels, especially going from last year to this year. It's only really the data point we have. I did want to show this chart, which does, I think, demonstrate where are we seeing exceptional enrollment from this year to last year. You can see kindergarten far and away had more applicants. The purple represents this year's kindergarten applicants versus the teal, which is last year's kinder. First grade, we actually had more applicants last year. Second grade, it was close. actually, oh, sorry, second grade, more applications last year for this year. Third grade and fourth grade and fifth grade swung much more this year, improved over last year, and then sixth grade leaning a little bit heavier on last year versus this year. So, it's something I think we need to focus on in terms of areas that where we're not seeing as many applicants having come in. Some of that is, their sibling preference. I think, as Jackie knows, a lot of families did apply. And this is going back to last year, did apply, and then, as a new school, kind of wanted to see how it was going to roll out, how was a new school to operate. New schools, it's a risk. But I think, having won a lot of families over and shown great success last year, some of those families that took a flyer on the school did come back and apply. And of course, siblings becomes a strong component of the enrollment process. So,
I think because initially it was K2 and 6, so if you look at, obviously the third and fourth and fifth grade were lower because we weren't really marketing at that point as far as the school being a K5.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we hadn't been marketing 3, 4, and 5 at all until like, middle of summer when that change was made. And then saw it shoot up, but obviously with only a 2-month, or actually not even like a 6-week time span at that point in time. So absolutely. We don't feel there's any issue with the school meeting its enrollment targets. I think the challenge is going to be, as the school continues to grow. Elementary typically has very strong application rates and application percent of like application to enrollment, usually bringing in around between 80 and 90% of students who apply actually enroll. As you get into the middle school grades, and especially in the high school grades, that rate will change. Middle school is I think a grade range where a lot of parents have some trepidation. District middle school, I think some people are afraid of what's going on in district middle schools. I think it's not to say that people who run district middle schools, I've worked in a district middle school. It's an age group, right? And there's challenges there with the transitioning developmental ages from elementary to high school. But I think as moving forward, the populating of those 7th and 8th grade bands, and especially 9th grade, is continue to be a challenge. And I think, the retaining of the students that we have becomes obviously essential to ensuring that we're building a comprehensive program from K to 12. And I know Jackie is prioritizing that. She knows, she's pulling with parents about what are parents looking for long term. Are parents looking for a K8? Are parents looking for that K12 and for that 6-12 component, especially that 9-12 component? What are they looking for in to allow the school to be able to operate at a good enrollment size, providing that traditional high school experience for students, given at a smaller scale, but still with offering students and families what they're looking for. So I know she's tuned into that, and she is definitely has that in the back of her mind in terms of the planning for the future. I did want to show this as a stacked graph. Obviously no shortfall at any grade level, but this kind of just showed you where students who intended to return versus newly enrolled, where it's stacked up per grade level. 6th grade had obviously the highest percent of new enrollments, but that's also because you had a small amount of 5th graders rising to be 6th graders, and so we had to take in more newly enrolled 6th graders to make up that grade level max. So that goes kind of show you where the makeup of every grade level is. Just looking at the support from community, this is from the quarterly feedback survey that Jackie sent out for Q1. I shall be sending her Q2 one out here pretty soon to collect data as we finish up the second quarter. But I use this graph further up in the report. Obviously, very strong, strong positives from the K-5 community of parents. Extracurriculars being the thing that I think will just take some time. It takes time to build community, build traditions. And I think Jackie and her team are doing an exceptional job in trying to add new aspects of that extracurricular component to the school, knowing that you can't force it. And parents, I think, also have to buy into it, and it will take time to build those traditions over the course of several years. So that being said, I think this is somewhat expected from a school that's in its early infancy. I would say similar trend for 612, although not as dramatically positive. Still positive in a lot of areas. Communication, I think, becomes a little bit more of a focus, and this is not something that I think is isolated to just Jackie. We've seen this in other Explore academies across other years. Communication and maintaining communication with families is important. Jackie knows that's not that she doesn't communicate. She communicates very well with her families, but still extracurriculars, which I think is going to become more and more of a core component of the school as the school begins to grow into the middle and upper secondary grade levels. And again, Jackie is definitely planning what does that look like? What do we need to bring in for those for the arts and for theater and for athletics to ensure that we're offering opportunity for students in those areas so they stay with Explore long term and that they feel like they can have those opportunities but still remain at Explore for the long term. So any questions on any of that component of this report?
No?
Nope. Very thorough.
All right,
Right.
my turn. Yes.
Yes.
I don't have much, guys, because Justin shared with you the data, so I was going to do that over again. Enrollment, as you guys know, we're closed, we're full. We are going to be losing a handful of families. We've lost a few. 430 is where we were in October. We're hovering right around 426. I do have 4 families that are going to be moving out of the state, and so we're working with them to keep them until at least December 12th. December 19th is our last day before break. Some of our families got some great job opportunities to move Indiana, and then some air traffic controller families moving out of state. And of course, it is families that have multiple siblings, which that always hurts. Some great families, parents have asked even if they could like finish out the year remotely. And we just don't have that option to do like a remote year from January to May with online,
How
learning.
does that affect 80 and 120 counts?
I don't know yet, but we did take a few more kindergartners in this, and they'll be starting on December 2nd. So to keep us solid on that number is where I tried to open up and make sure we're full with that 56. So that was one area I wanted to make sure that we did take some kids after the 40th day to continue that on. And then, of course, as you guys know, I sent out, Mike, you might not know, and we did have a pretty rough week last week. Our custodian, we did have to transport via ambulance from the school. We thought he was having a heart attack. So that was pretty scary, and some of the students, I'm sure, saw the ambulance and the fire truck. And then Mr. Arnold did get transported, and then
Is he okay?
he is okay, we just don't know if he's gonna be able to return to work.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're waiting December 6th, he has a follow-up, and then we'll get the clearance so that's always a hard blow to our staff. So I have Mr. Jean, who works now at Rio, or the ABQ campus, has been assisting us. And then the staff has been great. I'm literally serving lunch and helping out with that with Miss Bridget. And so it's been a week. Thank goodness the break is coming. I think we all need it. And then, as you guys know, the Miller family did attend our school up until fall break as well. And that was just a tragic event. Students, we do have a few students and staff who are still struggling. Just today's Thursday, just Tuesday, one of our students had a bit of an outburst on Tuesday afternoon. So something such as that, for even the whole Rio Rancho community is very tragic. And so that was something that, talking with some of our other Explore Academy principals and just our counseling team between my school and the other sites, to make sure, they were great at coming over to support. But I do want to make sure that we have a system in place a little stronger to, what do you do on the morning after?
Sure.
Friday morning, you go through the motions of getting through the day. Let's try to keep things as normal as possible. And then you come and you walk in through recess up the hall and you notice all of the students' cubbies. And the teachers lost it once again. And so, having that flow, okay, maybe like the counselors who come in from outside of school make sure that we remove school items, make sure that you remove student cubbies, make sure that you remove, personal belongings. Because it's one thing to think you got it, you're gonna handle the day. And then, the other, this Monday was picture makeup day, and Craig's face is on the flyers. And that is our kindergartner that was, that did pass away. So those are things that I don't think you can be prepared for.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a new school, not having possibly like the flow chart, that was a big lesson. So last week was rough. We are ready for break. And we got through it. The staff was great. Parents are great. The community was great. It's very nice having the other schools to come and support. I reached out to Justin and Alicia right away. And then the following morning, we had what we needed to get through. But again, it's just one of those things, you don't know what you don't know until you're in the moment. And if you don't have like that packet to go through. So I did talk with our director of administration on Tuesday. He was on campus, just so that we can start having those things readily available. I was so used to, I called a person and that person would do everything. I didn't have to worry about those types of things. At a larger district, we're here at a small charter school where it is you. You forget those things until you're there, and you're like, oh, crud. I should have maybe asked one of the outside teachers or outside counselors who came in who have no knowledge of this child to go collect their belongings so that the teacher doesn't have to put it all in a box.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Well, and I think no matter how many flowcharts or
Right.
plans or
Until it happens.
preparations or, there's just no easy way around it, right? So, I mean, it sounds like you guys did a good job
They
handling
did,
it.
they
and
did. I think
know
the
it
staff was
affected
amazing.
a lot of people, and so.
Yeah, and the students, my niece has come here, and when I'm at recess duty on Friday covering it so the teachers don't do it, and they come up and they let me know, so, did you know so? And I was like, yeah. So it was a day, it was a weekend, again, but I think the staff was amazing, the community is amazing, and so for that, it's nice to have the support. But I do want to make sure that that's one more thing on that checklist of to-do lists that
Be
we,
prepared.
and I think being so new, we're not aware of the things that need to be in that binder for the what ifs. We have done our active training for shooting and relocation with the small staff, with my small admin team. We will be doing the larger one for relocation, active shooter, and threat and assessment, all on February 6th for all staff. So I do feel things that maybe weren't as concrete last year, we're having the better flow, the better site safety, all of those things to make sure that, you're as trained as you can be in the event, and you kind of have that backup to where's the binder, where's the this, what do you do? Of course, a fire drill that's simple and easy. But when it comes to the big stuff, making sure that the school is as prepared and trained as possible. So with that, everything else is looking good. We're ready for break. Definitely ready for break. And then we hit 3 weeks coming back. Our 7th grade student aides put together a spirit week for the last week of school. So I'm trying to get the 7th graders to start taking more initiative and forming can we start looking at a Senate or student body type thing so that they have that and giving them a little bit more reins. So you're going to see some flyers on our newsletter tomorrow that I didn't create. We did make sure we spell checked.
All right.
And then the kids have been wanting to do skits and share that information out to the student body.
Yeah.
And it's great for me because, sometimes on Fridays I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. Going good.
Okay, anything else?
No, marketing? Who's talking? Do I talk about that? Am I doing marketing? I have nothing to add. I mean, I can talk to you guys about,
Well, I'm assuming, is that about the community, like the new student meet and greet or family days
we
or
are
whatever?
doing that. That has started. We've already done numerous tours, 2 info sessions, so that has been going. Katia Pride is working on getting more marketing out there, looking at a collaboration with KRQUE. So yeah, we talked about that.
Keep me
And
posted on that. I have
Okay.
good contacts over there.
so yeah, we're getting that out. And then, of course, I believe we talked last time, really reaching out to some of our surrounding neighborhoods, such as Bernalillo. So yes, that is continuing. Yeah.
Okay, Vistas?
Melissa, are you doing Vistas or is that me?
I am not, but if you would like me to jump in, I do not mind at all.
Sure, I wasn't planning on doing anything for Vistas or the ESSA. I don't know.
Yeah,
Karen must have added that.
Karen should be jumping on shortly, but so New Mexico Vistas, and if you'd like, I can try and pull up the website. I sit on on the AAAC committee, so we were actually able to look at all of the data before it went live and the embargo was lifted. So New Mexico Vistas is just like a one-stop shop that has every district, state charter school, even broken down by school to let you know school designations, within that area, how the students are performing based on English learner, um, math, reading, and so forth. With Explore Academy Rio Rancho being that we're only K-7, you're not going to see like those graduation rates and things of that nature. But it's a really great tool. Would you like me to pull it up and share it, or?
I mean, so the link is there, so it shows
Okay.
that we, had an overall of 58.8. So not all the way to need support, not all the way to great, but better on the great side. It shows our math proficiency and reading proficiency and science. As you guys remember last year, I did bring you guys that our scores were towards the end of the school year, we shared out our scores. These are going to be your final scores from NMASA. And so math came out where we were 28%. So if you guys remember last year, this was one area that I was overly concerned with my 3rd and 6th grade population having the biggest struggles. 3rd grades also did take this test, and 6th grade obviously as well. Reading a little bit better, science a lot better. Still not where we'd like to be. I'd like to see it a little higher. But yeah, so it's just a breakdown of all of our information that lives for our assessments. But math has continued to be,
That's a state, that's also.
oh, thank you. So math has been continued, number sense, fluency, yes.
I had a chance to look over this fairly extensively the day it came out. And just kind of looking comparatively to the Rio Rancho district, Ask Academy, Albuquerque Explore, things like that, some just quick things that I noticed. And if there's any observations or thoughts about it, I'd be curious. But so we're fairly on par, I think, with Rio Rancho, within a point or two, pretty much across the board. I'm sure one student could move the needle up or down above what they're at as an average. Looking at Ask Academy, I'm not sure when you start to layer in your older grades, if that generally raises that bar, or if because they're a more established school, if they've kind of not weeded out, but just kind of through the natural higher expectations that some of the charters in town do have, if you naturally kind of end up with those higher numbers. And then I think we were a little bit behind kind of where Albuquerque Explore was, but I didn't have a chance to compare it to some of the schools kind of around that area. So any thoughts on any of that stuff, or?
Our reading actually was higher than the state, but again,
We're
it's
higher
just our
than the state
math.
across
Yeah,
the board.
it's just the math, and math was and is a concern, especially with that third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade population, I mean, I don't
The
want to
COVID
point.
population.
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't want to continue to do the COVID population, but
Yeah.
when you have kiddos who cannot fluently multiply in sixth and seventh grade, it
Yep.
does start to put a struggle when you're looking at, early algebraic concepts. Today I was in a math class, and they were working on cubed and squared, and really just breaking down the distributive property, and the teacher really still had to guide, out of, I think I counted 17 kids, she had about 8 who she was really guiding to see, okay, what are you doing? And just retaining that information of how the steps are, to where they did have, like I said, a little flip chart of cubed and squared on their desk that they had to keep using and utilizing. And then their fluency drills were just not quick enough to do the mental math. But other than that, we have broken, like I said, when we brought Mr. Howell from Cognia out, he does a great job of working with my teachers to break this down. And I appreciate it. He's a parent at our site, so he does the training for us pretty much on demand, which is fabulous.
Well, and I think one of the great things to highlight also for next year, PED changed the business rules on growth from last year to this year. And so as we move forward next school year, we'll actually have true data where they're still using the same rules to determine growth. So we don't, if you'll notice, a lot of other districts, there's not a lot of comparison, and you'll see that just because of those business rule changes and how they were determining growth. We won't have to worry about that data not being cohesive and linear, because we are moving forward from this year, and then it'll determine growth to the following school year.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we were going to talk more about facility in closed session, so I wasn't going to. Hopefully we will get our turf done by Christmas break.
Christmas break.
That is the goal.
Cool.
And then we did have to get some small repairs done to our existing fence, and that should hopefully also be done when all of it is completed. It looks like completion dates for projects is the winter break. If you remember last year, playground was finalized the Friday or Thursday, the Thursday before we went to winter break.
Is that Karen's joined?
I'm here. It's Karen. Melissa might leave, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Hi,
I'm going
everybody.
to switch her to switch you to host, and then I will close out, because if I close out, it'll close everyone right now.
I think I took over host, Melissa, when I signed in.
Hi, Karen.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, everybody.
Perfect timing, because we're up to you now.
See, I just knew when it was time for me. So I just wanted to remind board members of their training requirements, and they're a little bit different this year. If you didn't already know, it's 5 hours instead of 8 for returning folks. And I know Kathy's not here tonight, but I need to give her a little shout out because she's already completed her 5 hours. So Kathy gets the sticker for tonight, even though she's not here. But again, you can still do the same methods as you've done in the past, and there are links on the agenda to your training opportunities, whether you do the Canvas ones or you join some of Melissa's synchronous training, however you want to do it, but it's one in each category now. It's a change in legislation. So there's one fiscal, one academic, one legal, one laws, policies, and procedures, and one on effective governance. You have trackers, both my internal one as well as the one from CSD on your agendas that you can check with, but just wanted to remind you not to wait till the end of the school year to finish it. So that's it for that, unless you have questions for me.
Do we have any, I don't know if they're giving out any free passes for the conference on December 11th, 12th? Because on the 12th, they're making all of the training available.
That's paid. Are you planning to go to the PCS&M conference you're talking about?
Potentially, yes.
That's a $600 fee per person, I think, but yes, that could be counted.
Okay.
There is another conference in June, but I would have to check with Missy. Generally, those conferences include training hours. I just don't know yet if June training would count for the following year, for this year, or both, but we could ask Ms. Brown at the Charter Schools Division about that, and that conference is free.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious, because I know I went to one of them that was free, so.
Yeah, the one in June or end of school year, summertime there is sponsored by the Public Education Department's Charter Schools Division, and it's free to attend. The one that's offered by Public Charter Schools of New Mexico, that's an organization that's kind of like a chamber of commerce that has a membership fee to belong to it, and they charge a fee to attend the conference, I think whether you're a member or not. The fee for membership for that organization is $14, maybe it's 15 now, $15 per student per year.
Good.
And the thing about PCS&M is they do a lot of lobbying with legislatures and that sort of thing. I think that's one of the biggest advantages of that group, lobbying on behalf of charter schools. But I have to also say that charter schools have not always the same needs, or they might even have conflicting opinions about legislation. But the PCS&M is sort of the best analogy is a chamber of commerce for charter schools. So.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that the transportation MOU, that memorandum of understanding that you approved last, I think it was at the last meeting, has been signed by Herrera and Ms. Hughes. I just wanted you to know that's actually been executed, and Herrera didn't push back at all, because as we discussed, it is all required statutorily. I will share that I think they have started doing some things that they weren't doing as a result of that. So that's like drills and things like that. So that's a good thing. Emails for all of you. I don't know for sure if everyone has set it up. I've been keeping track on a list of who has emailed me from their new board email. If you have not set it up yet and need help, just schedule a time with me. It'll take 10 minutes. It is a Google account. And if you have set it up, just shoot me an email that says I'm good to go, so that I know when everybody is actually switched over and not using their personal emails anymore. Up till now, I've been trying to email to both to make sure that everyone gets the information. Every school is required to submit an attendance improvement plan every year. And so you have a link to the plan there. Basically, it just mimics, for the most part, what's required in statute for the Attendance for Success Act. And I think they make us go through this exercise every year so that they know that the school knows what they need to do. But I thought it was also interesting if I could share the chronic absenteeism rates for last school year. And that's kids who have been out 10% or more of the school year. So at the end of the school year, if we have, I'm just going to use 190 days, as I don't know exactly what the number is, but if they're out 19 days or more, that's the percentage of kids who were reportedly out that often. And I found I have some questions about the data, and I'm not sure, to be honest, if it's actually accurate. And I think that we ought to lean in a little bit on reviewing it. So, and I don't mean the board specifically, but I just want to share with you, what it shows by subgroups and percentage wise. You know, obviously some of these groups are very small, but it's sort of interesting that, this is probably not unusual that economically disadvantaged and students with disabilities may have a higher absenteeism rate, but that's pretty high. But and again, it depends on the size of the population, right? In each of those groups. Back to even to the Vistas data, like you said, Chris, just a few students can push. When the smaller the population, the harder it is to be statistically reliable with that Vistas data that you were talking about earlier. So when you're comparing to like the Rio Rancho public schools, it's hard in a way because they have such large numbers that it is more statistically reliable than our numbers, but the school's obviously doing well. By grade level also, like, I don't know, it seems odd to me, some of these numbers, but Jackie, I think I'd like to dig into it a little bit more and see if we're actually either A, reporting it properly, and B, how do they calculate this? Like fourth grade, did you have an attendance sort of issue with a bunch of kids in fourth grade? Maybe you did, but found that data sort of interesting.
We have a big population of students who have therapy.
Ah,
And so, while yes, we do have doctor's notes, it's still going to be reported. So I have, like off the top of my head, one family, and it's, you have a family who might have 4 or 5 students on my campus, but one child has therapy at 1. The whole family leaves at 12.
mm, mm,
So I do have that. We have had conversations, we have done MLSS plans, and we've
good,
even added it into their IEPs as possibly a concern.
good.
So yes, and then kindergarten, I would say that is pretty accurate because we do have a population of, yes. So if like,
It's fine as long as it makes sense to you, who knows the school and the kids. Um, just thought it was interesting statistics that grade sort of stood out, but that makes sense if there were high needs in that grade level.
I think
Again,
the area to work on that I know Annie is very, very frustrated is, right, so if a student goes to see her, she is required to call the family, and families will be like, okay, I'm gonna come pick them up. And it's like, no, 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 they're not sick. They're not sick. Like, leave them, leave them, leave them. And then we have a problem with cell phone usage where some of my fourth grade students last year, who are now fifth grade students this year, who will call or text families that I'm not feeling good. They never go to see Nurse Annie, and then all of a sudden, mom is here, and my son's not feeling good. They text me that they're sick. So yes, this is a problem. Yes, so yes, I feel that the numbers are probably pretty accurate.
well,
Unfortunately,
that's the first thing I wanted to just ask, but thank you for sharing that with me. And yeah, I am aware of some of those, you've shared with me some of those issues with some of the kiddos. And I think we need to address that as, that the proper protocol is that to report to the nurse if they're not feeling well, and the nurse will let them call home or whatever. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but I will address that, particularly with the mom I need to call in the morning. So,
Very,
um,
very quickly, I just want to know, we're overall 83.3%. The state, meaning overall regular attendance, 90% or more. The state's at 66%. And Rio Rancho Public Schools at 78. So we're ahead of our neighbors and the state by quite a bit on the state side there, so.
absolutely. And I think that's great. And we should celebrate that. But at the same time, I have concerns about kids missing 26% of the kids missing 10% or more. And wanted to be sure that we were aware of that. And Jack is, of course, not surprised, is very well aware and has I wasn't sure if the data was right or if it's really what's happening. And
been hyping up perfect attendance every quarter, posting it on our Facebook page and also doing like awards here. Maybe we'll have to hype it up more where we do more. I mean, and it's hard because I know, like, when you're sick and you should stay home, but
yeah, of course.
when yeah. So yes, I'm aware. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but 26% of the kids missing 19 days or more in a school year is still significant, right, for that fourth grade group. But you explained why that is. So, um, I wasn't sure if maybe there was an anomaly in the data somehow. So, um, anyway, just wanted you to be aware of those things. And thank you, Chris, for pointing out the comparison. It's always important. I feel that way when we go up before the PEC and they just give this report about our school. I always like to share the state data and this district data to have some comparison for them to see how we're really doing, as opposed to, just the number. Because we're never happy enough where we're at, like Jackie was talking about the math proficiency, for example. Anyway, moving on, I did put this on the agenda because I didn't know if we'd have the final report now that the NM Vistas data is out, but we don't. But there will be a final report, including all the academic data and accountability data from NM Vistas that we should get for last school year. I've already shared the preliminary annual report with you, but I wanted to be able to share the final if we had it. We don't. And lastly, I wanted to share also that there's a PEC, the Public Education Commission, as you may or may not know, all charter schools, there's 2% of your SEG money is swiped off the top before you even see it. That goes from all charter schools, that goes to the charter schools division and running those salaries and paying the PEC per diem and travel or whatever they need to do. And it also helps pay for that conference, et cetera. They often have some monies remaining. So this year, the Public Education Commission has put out an application for some support funding that's basically from the 2% swept from all the schools that they'll give back to schools who may need it for a particular project. This first go round, they're making it contingent upon an area of weakness on your final report. So, you know, we get a little bit punished for being so good, but the areas that we had on there, and I don't know, Jackie, if you've decided to submit anything,
Yes,
but the only,
yes.
go ahead.
Yes, I was looking at it and working on it to see if we can get possibly more support with just materials for evacuation and like just the materials.
Reunification, yeah,
Yep. 'Cause
super.
loved
Yeah,
the
because
training from Mr. Uh, was it Greg?
Grant Banash, I think it was his name.
Start with a G.
Grant,
Yep. Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that he shared, we were actually interested in. Yeah.
so we just need to submit as a really simple Google form application. They're awarding up to $10,000 per school. And the only areas that we had weaknesses in were the staff credentialing, which I've already shared with you is not accurate, and the health and safety area, which was really just because I was delayed in getting the report done because of some very detailed training information that they wanted that we didn't have to do in the past. But let's use that to our advantage and use it for something for the safety plan. And Jackie, I should let you know that I did attend a session in Albuquerque I don't remember when it was, recently, in the last week, with Albuquerque schools, charter schools. A bunch of them have kind of united around doing a reunification plan together, supporting each other. I think, Jackie, I felt like when we met with Grant, like from Plums and Associates, that, oh my gosh, if we had a true emergency and had to evacuate and reunify families, we really are not prepared. For what that would look like. And hopefully we never need it. But what they're doing in Albuquerque is having several charter schools work together so that you can support if there is an incident at one of the other schools. And so I've reached out to Ask Academy and SABE, which is Sandoval Academy of Bilingual Education there in Rio Rancho, to see if we could form something similar in Rio Rancho to support each other. Because clearly, if there were an emergency at your school, Jackie, your staff is not going to be the best equipped to deal with all the things that need to happen in a reunification process like Grant shared with us. And we need teachers to be with their kiddos if that should ever happen. So it would be nice to be able to pull support from the other schools in those events to, and they have all these, we can go over another time, but from greeters to checkers to runners to get the kids and reunite them with their parents in an orderly way and to account for everybody. So and that's the materials you're talking about as well. But hopefully we could use that to A, find a location, and B, get folks from commitment from X number of folks from each school to support a reunification should there be a need for one. You always think worst case scenario is active shooter, but it could be for a gas leak or any kind of an issue. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but best to be prepared, because I think as I've been going to these, both the one at your school, Jackie, and then this one with the group, I'm like, wow, I don't know how you do this if it suddenly happened. So, um, so all that to say, yeah, I'm glad we could use that for some of those materials. And I know that Grant provides a lot of the files, but we still would need to have them printed and laminated and whatever we want to do. So awesome.
Okay, thank you very much. no other questions for Karen on that, and we move on to, finally move on to Samantha, and confirming her as a audit committee member. So, do we have a motion? Do we have?
She is here. I just moved her to the panel. I don't know if she's still listening in or, yep, she's
No, I'm
there.
still
Hi,
here.
Sam.
Hi,
I'm here.
welcome.
Hello.
So thank you for volunteering for that committee member position.
Of course.
And I guess officially we have to make a motion and designate you as a parent representative for the audit committee. So do we have a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to confirm Sam Watwood onto the audit committee.
And I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Thanks, Sam.
No problem.
So all that time waiting just for that, but thank you, Sam. Appreciate you. I should share
No
that
problem.
Sam is also very active in our PTO, I understand. So, in fact, I think
Yes.
as treasurer, is that not correct?
Yes, I am the PTO. I'm one of the PTO co-treasurers for the Rio Rancho campus. I've got 2 little boys that attend the school, so I like to be involved as much as I can.
Well, we appreciate you. Thanks, Sam.
Of
Appreciate
course.
Thanks, Sam. I kind of pigeonholed her in the book there.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, Justin, I guess if you are ready, we can make a motion to go into closed session. And
Can I do a quick restroom?
yes,
Okay.
actually, let's make the motion first and
Sure, we can do that.
make the motion to go into closed session. I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
We need to figure out.
okay, so do we have a motion to resume our normal meeting and come out of closed session?
I'll motion to come out of the closed session.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It was, but that's fine.
Okay, and so during our closed session, we just discussed the items on the agenda, and at this point, no further action is needed on that. Moving on to board comments. Any other comments? Veronica?
No, I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Okay, so there's still nobody in public comment. So on that end, our next meeting is scheduled for December 19th. And do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Veronica, it's all you.
Sure, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right, seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Have a great holiday, guys. Stay safe.
Happy
Thanks.
Thanksgiving, all.
Happy
Karen.
Hey,
Thanksgiving. Hey, how
I
about-
thought,
All right, she's gonna have great weather.